Did you know that you can spend $27,000 on an IKEA sofa? Yeah, I didn't either. So in this video, I'm walking through how I turned the Jättebo modular sofa into a giant conversation pit, or honestly, an entire indoor landscape. If you play with IKEA's configurator, you can basically go wild combining different modules. I wanted to see how far it could go, and apparently the longest sofa you can make is 125 feet long. And at that point, it stops being a sofa and becomes urban planning. For the space, I pulled from a few architectural references I love. Kazuo Shinohara's geometric interiors, Philip Johnson's sculpture gallery, the huge window in the Temple of Dendur at the Met, and those classic Parisian glass structures and rooftop skylights. Color-wise, this came from a house I walked past in Brooklyn. I love the green with a hint of bright red. When I need something more specific, I go to a dictionary of color combinations, and palette 147 happened to be exactly the vibe. There's a little Bad Bunny influence too. The Nuevayol music video, especially the jewelry and the flower he wears, those details stuck with me. First step was building this giant sofa maze. I modeled each piece as simple boxes, added bevels to soften the edges, and tweaked the seating surface so it wasn't too stiff. Before duplicating things randomly, I stepped back and sketched a few layouts, just to understand the overall shape and flow. It's kind of like designing a maze, but padded. I wanted it to feel big enough that you could generally get lost in it, and because of that, the room had to scale up dramatically. To get the fabric right, I started with a basic material using the fabric texture, roughness map, and bump map. Later on, I went back in to fine-tune it, adding small details to make it less repetitive. A regular room was never going to work, so the whole thing became this big glass atrium, half living room, half museum hall. I wanted it to feel like a place you go to unplug. Somewhere you lose track of where you're sitting because the sky keeps pulling your attention upward, shifting from golden hour to blue hour. I also loved how the structure creates these long, moving shadows across the walls, almost like the space becomes a sundial. To balance all the clean geometry, I brought in plants and curtains. They soften everything and make it feel alive, and I added small decor pieces for little moments of shimmer and contrast. Lighting stayed simple. Using the physical atmosphere add-on, I set one strong directional sun to rig through the atrium and highlight the structure. The glass roof does most of the magic. I rendered in cycles at 64 samples at 5000 by 3750 pixel resolution. This was also my first time using the Lens Sim add-on. The camera profiles give it this dreamy, nostalgic, almost film-like vibe. I'm a big fan of the haze and bloom straight from the add-on, which I added on top of the compositor glare. Here's the raw render. It's nice, but not quite there yet. So in Photoshop, I always start with the camera raw to adjust lighting and overall color tone. Then once I'm done in there, then I duplicate the layer and add 15% Gaussian blur, set it to soft light at 50% opacity. And if it feels too heavy, which it usually does, I go back and adjust contrast on the base layer. But this just adds in more contrast and also more dreamy-like image. Also, I emphasize light in two ways. The first is with linear and radial gradients in Camera Raw. And the second is having a new soft light layer at 30% opacity, where I brush in a deep shadow color or a soft white highlight. And this just adds in a little more glare and contrast to the overall image. It's subtle, but it helps guide the eyes. The last touch is adding noise, just a little texture to break up what the denoiser did. And here's the final result. So what do you think? Worth it? Would you drop $27,000 on a Megazoid IKEA sofa? Honestly, I think IKEA should actually build this. And if they do, someone please tell me. And if you enjoyed this, subscribe for more architectural experiments in Blender.